The Merlot hit me like a slap across the face, cold and vicious, dripping down my Sunday best and pooling in dark red splotches on Grandma Celeste's antique tablecloth. Vanessa stood over me, her French-tipped nails still gripping the empty wine glass, her face twisted in that familiar look of disgust she'd perfected since we were children. "You have until sunrise to leave my house," she hissed, loud enough for everyone at the Thanksgiving table to hear. "Pack your raggedy things and get out!" I sat there, frozen, wine soaking through my cream blouse, running down my arms, while 23 pairs of eyes stared at me. My parents, Vanessa's husband Daryl, cousins, their children. Even little Amara, only 7 years old, had stopped mid-bite of sweet potato pie to watch Aunt Denise get humiliated one more time. Mama didn't say a word. She just took another sip of her wine and looked away. Daddy cleared his throat and focused real hard on his collard greens. And Vanessa, my baby sister by 3 years, stood there like the queen of the castle, waiting for me to break. That's when something inside me snapped. Before we continue, please drop a comment if you've ever experienced something like this. We'd love to hear your story, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. But let me back up. Let me tell you how Denise Marie Thompson, 58 years old, college-educated, 30-year nurse at Regional Medical, ended up being treated like trash in what everyone believed was her parents' house. Let me tell you about the 23 years I spent being the family's workhorse while Vanessa played princess. It started the summer Grandma Celeste died. I was 35 then, fresh off a divorce from a man who thought his paycheck was permission to put his hands on me. I moved back home to Mama and Daddy's place, or what I thought was Mama and Daddy's place, a beautiful 3-bedroom brick house on 2 acres of land that had been in our family since 1947. Grandma Celeste had bought it with cash money she'd saved from working as a seamstress and cleaning houses for white families in town. She'd raised Mama there. Mama had raised us there during summers while she worked. Grandma had passed suddenly from a stroke, and Mama and Daddy said they needed help sorting through her things. "Just for a few months," Mama had said. "Just until we get settled." 23 years later, I was still there. Vanessa, meanwhile, had married Daryl right out of college. He worked in real estate. Always had a new scheme, always dressed in suits that cost more than my monthly car payment. They lived in a subdivision 30 minutes away, in one of those cookie-cutter houses with a pool and a 3-car garage. They had 2 children, Brittany and Marcus. Wait, I can't use those names. Let me restart that part. Vanessa had married Daryl right out of college. He worked in real estate, always had a new scheme, always dressed in suits that cost more than my monthly car payment. They lived in a subdivision 30 minutes away, in one of those cookie-cutter houses with a pool and a 3-car garage. They had 2 children, Tiana and Jordan, who went to private school and took piano lessons and got new iPhones every year. I took care of Mama and Daddy. I paid the property taxes when they claimed they couldn't afford it. I fixed the roof when it started leaking. I replaced the water heater, the furnace, the air conditioning unit. I bought groceries every week and cooked Sunday dinners because Mama said her arthritis was too bad. I drove Daddy to his doctor appointments and picked up his prescriptions. I cleaned the gutters and mowed the lawn and painted the porch. And every time I suggested maybe Vanessa could help out, Mama's face would pinch up. "Your sister has her own family to take care of, Denise. She's busy. You know how it is." I knew how it was, all right. I knew that when Vanessa needed $5,000 for Tiana's orthodontist, Mama and Daddy found the money. When Daryl's real estate deal fell through and they were about to lose their house, Mama and Daddy took out a loan against the property, against Grandma's house, to bail them out. When Jordan wanted to go to that expensive summer camp, guess who paid for it? Not Vanessa and Daryl. They were going through a tough time. I paid for it. Me, working double shifts at the hospital, coming home exhausted to cook dinner for parents who barely thanked me, watching my savings account shrink while Vanessa posted pictures on Facebook of her cruise to Jamaica. 10 years ago, I tried to talk to Mama about it. We were sitting on the porch snapping green beans for dinner, and I said, "Mama, I need to talk about the house expenses. I can't keep covering everything." She didn't even look up from the beans. "This is your home, Denise. Family takes care of family." "But Vanessa's family, too," I said. "Why doesn't she ever—" "Don't you start that jealous mess with me." Mama's voice went sharp. "Your sister has a husband and children to think about. You're here by yourself. What else you got to spend your money on?" I'd wanted to scream. I'd wanted to throw those green beans across the yard. Instead, I swallowed it down like I always did and kept snapping beans. 5 years ago, Daddy had a minor stroke. Nothing major, but he needed physical therapy and extra care. Vanessa came to visit once, stayed for 20 minutes, and cried about how hard it was to see Daddy like that. Then she left and didn't come back for 3 months. I was the one who helped Daddy to the bathroom at 2 a.m. I was the one who changed his sheets when he had accidents. I was the one who drove him to therapy 3 times a week and celebrated when he could finally walk without his cane. "Your sister asked about you," I'd tell him, lying to make him feel better. He'd just nod and smile, but we both knew she hadn't called. 2 years ago, Daryl started coming around the house more often, always with his briefcase, always talking to Daddy in hushed voices in the study. When I asked what they were discussing, Daddy waved me off. "Men's business, baby girl. Don't you worry about it." But I did worry. I worried when I found property assessment documents on Daddy's desk. I worried when I overheard Daryl on the phone saying, "Once we finalize the subdivision plans, we're looking at easy 7 figures." I worried when Vanessa started making comments about how outdated the house was, how the neighborhood was changing, how it might be time for Mama and Daddy to downsize to something more manageable. She said this while standing in the kitchen I'd renovated with my own money, while looking at the new appliances I'd bought, while leaning against the counter I'd had installed after saving for 8 months. 6 months ago, I went down to the courthouse to pay the property taxes like I did every year. The clerk was a woman named Phyllis, who'd gone to church with Grandma Celeste. She looked at me funny when I handed over the check. "Denise, honey," she said, lowering her voice. "You know you don't have to do this through your parents anymore, right? You can pay direct since it's your property." I stared at her. "What do you mean, my property?" Her eyes went wide. "Oh, Lord, you don't know." She glanced around the office, then leaned closer. "Celeste left the house to you. Just you. It's been in your name since she passed. There was a deed transfer filed 23 years ago." The floor seemed to tilt under my feet. "That's impossible. Your parents have been living there, but the property's in your name. Celeste was real specific about it in her will. I remember because we talked about it at church. She said she wanted to make sure you had something of your own, something nobody could take from you." I left the courthouse in a daze. When I got home, I went straight to the attic, to the boxes of Grandma's things that nobody had touched in years. I dug through papers and photographs and old letters until I found it. A manila envelope with my name on it in Grandma's handwriting. Inside was the deed, the house, the land, all of it. Transferred to Denise Marie Thompson, dated 3 weeks before Grandma died. There was also a letter. "My dearest Denise," it read in Grandma's careful cursive, "I'm leaving you this house because I know you'll take care of it. Your mama loves you, but she's always favored Vanessa, and I suspect that won't change. This is yours. Don't let nobody tell you different. You're stronger than you know, baby girl. Stand up for yourself. Love, Grandma Celeste." I sat in that dusty attic and cried for an hour. Then I started digging deeper. I found mortgage documents, mortgages taken out on property Mama and Daddy didn't own, loans in Daddy's name with my forged signature as co-signer, bank statements showing transfers of thousands of dollars I'd given them for taxes and repairs going straight into Vanessa and Daryl's accounts. I found an unsigned contract between Daryl's real estate company and a development firm, with plans to subdivide the property into 8 lots and sell them for $800,000 each. They were planning to sell my land. The land Grandma had worked herself to the bone to buy. The land she'd left to me. And they'd been planning it for at least 2 years. I sat on the attic floor, surrounded by evidence of my family's betrayal, and made myself a promise. I would wait. I would gather every document, every receipt, every piece of proof. I would organize it, photograph it, make copies. And when the time was right, I would burn their whole world down. That time came 6 months later, on Thanksgiving Day. Vanessa had insisted on hosting the holiday dinner at what she kept calling the family house. She'd been making these comments for weeks, talking about how we needed to think about our property, how we should make decisions together. She'd even had the nerve to suggest I should pay rent. Just something small, she'd said with that fake, sweet smile. You know, to help with upkeep. I'd smiled back and said, "We'll talk about it at Thanksgiving." The dinner started out normal enough. Ham and turkey, mac and cheese, collard greens cooked with smoked turkey necks, cornbread dressing, candied yams, green beans, Mama's famous potato salad. Vanessa had insisted on hosting, even though I'd done all the cooking like always. She just wanted to play Lady of the Manor, walking around in her designer dress, making sure everyone knew she'd opened up the house for the family. I'd brought all my documents. They were locked in my car, organized in a folder, ready. I was just waiting for the right moment. That moment came during dessert. Daryl stood up with his wine glass and cleared his throat. "Family, I want to make an announcement. Vanessa and I have been working on something exciting with Mom and Dad. We've been in talks with Winchester Development about the property. They're offering to buy it for a very generous price, and we're going to split the proceeds 4 ways. Mom, Dad, Vanessa, and..." He paused, looking at me with something like pity. "We figured we'd give Denise a little something too, for all her help over the years." The table erupted in excited chatter, cousins asking how much. Tiana and Jordan already planning what they'd spend their inheritance on. I set down my fork very carefully. "And when exactly were you planning to tell me about this?" Vanessa rolled her eyes. "Don't start, Denise. This is a family decision. You don't get to..." "I don't get to what?" I kept my voice calm. "I don't get to have a say in what happens to property that Grandma left me." The table went quiet. Daddy shifted in his chair. "Now, Denise, let's not do this here." "Property that Grandma left you?" Vanessa's voice pitched high. "Is that what you think? That house belongs to all of us. Just because you've been living there rent-free for 20 years, playing nurse and maid, doesn't make it yours." "Actually," I said, "it does." I pulled out my phone and opened the photo I'd taken of the deed. Grandma Celeste transferred the property to me 3 weeks before she died. The house is mine. The land is mine. All of it. And it has been for 23 years. Mama's face went pale. Daddy looked away. "But Vanessa?" Vanessa's face turned purple with rage. "You're lying," she hissed. "You're making this up because you're jealous." "I have the deed," I said calmly. "I have the will. I have copies at my lawyer's office. And I have documentation of every fraudulent loan you've taken out using my property as collateral." Daryl was on his feet. "Now wait just a minute." "I have copies of the forged signatures," I continued. "I have bank records showing where my money really went. I have your unsigned development contract. I have everything." The room was dead silent now. Even the children had stopped eating. Vanessa's hand shot out. Before I could move, she'd grabbed her wine glass and thrown the contents in my face. "You have until sunrise to leave my house," she screamed. "Pack your raggedy things and get out." I stood up slowly, wine dripping down my face, and smiled. "Your house?" I said softly. "Baby sister, you haven't been listening. It's my house, and you're all going to learn exactly what that means." The silence that followed my words was thick enough to choke on. Then all hell broke loose. "You can't do this!" Vanessa's voice cracked as she lunged toward me, but Daryl caught her arm. "That house has been in this family for generations. You can't just..." I'm not doing anything, I said, pulling napkins from the table to wipe wine off my face. Grandma already did it 23 years ago. I'm just finally enforcing what's mine. Mama found her voice then. Denise, baby, let's talk about this privately. There's no need to air family business in front of everyone. Family business? I looked around the table at all those faces staring at me. Cousins I'd cooked for, nieces and nephews I'd given birthday money to, family friends who'd eaten my food without ever once asking if I needed help. These people have watched y'all treat me like the help for over 2 decades. They already know our business. My cousin Shanice, Mama's sister's daughter, spoke up. Wait, so Miss Celeste left you the whole house? I thought she left it to your mama. That's what everyone was supposed to think, I said, looking directly at my parents. Isn't that right, Mama? Daddy? Daddy finally met my eyes. For a second, just a second, I saw something like shame cross his face. Denise, your grandmother was old and confused when she made those arrangements. We were going to tell you eventually, but... But what? But you needed to take out 3 mortgages on my property first? But you needed to steal $97,000 from me over the years? But you needed to let Vanessa and Daryl plan to sell my land and keep the money? The numbers hit the room like bombs. I heard gasps, whispers, someone saying Jesus under their breath. 97,000? Shanice repeated. Denise, are you serious? I have receipts for every penny, I said. Every tax payment, every repair, every grocery bill. Every time they said they needed money for the mortgage that didn't exist because the house was already paid for. Every time Vanessa needed help and Mama said I should chip in because we're family. Vanessa's face had gone from purple to gray. You've been planning this. You've been sitting there plotting against your own family? I've been documenting your theft, I corrected. There's a difference. Girls, please. Mama's voice trembled now. She looked older, suddenly, smaller. We're family. We can work this out. Denise, you know we love you. We never meant to hurt you. Something about those words, the ones I'd been waiting to hear for so long, just made me tired. You love me? Mama, you've watched Vanessa treat me like trash my entire life and never said one word to stop it. You've taken my money, my time, my whole life, and you never once said thank you. That's not love. We gave you a place to stay, Vanessa shot back. After your divorce, when you had nowhere else to go, you gave me a place to stay? I laughed, and it came out harsh and bitter. In the house I already owned? How generous of you. Daryl had been quiet this whole time, but now he stepped forward, his businessman smile plastered on. Denise, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Let's all calm down and discuss this rationally. I'm sure we can come to an arrangement that works for everyone. The only arrangement we're making is you getting off my property, I said. All of you. I want you out by the end of the week. You can't evict us, Mama cried. This is our home. Actually, I can, and I will. I pulled more documents from my purse. I'd been carrying them all day, waiting. I had my lawyer draw up eviction notices. 30 days for Mama and Daddy since they're elderly. Vanessa and Daryl. You don't live here, so you just need to leave. Tonight. I handed the papers to Daddy. His hands shook as he took them. This is insane, Vanessa said, but her voice had lost some of its power. You're really going to throw your own parents out on the street? I'm not throwing them out on the street. I'm giving them 30 days to find somewhere else to live. Maybe they can stay with you, in that big house you bought with money they stole from me. That's when Uncle Raymond, Daddy's brother, stood up from where he'd been sitting quiet at the end of the table. Hold on now. Denise, I understand you're upset, but putting your parents out? That's harsh, baby girl. Where they gonna go? With all due respect, Uncle Raymond, where was this concern when they were bleeding me dry? Where was the family support when I was working double shifts to pay their bills? We didn't know, Shanice said quietly. Denise, we didn't know they were doing you like that. because I didn't tell anyone. I kept the peace. I smiled and nodded and paid and cooked and cleaned, and I kept my mouth shut because that's what good daughters do, right? My voice cracked. But I'm done being good. Tiana, Vanessa's daughter, who was 19 now and home from college, spoke up. Mom, is this true? Did you really take Aunt Denise's money? Baby, it's complicated, Vanessa started, but Tiana shook her head. It's not complicated. It's either true or it's not. I watched Vanessa's face struggle between lying to her daughter and admitting the truth. She chose deflection. Your aunt is twisting things, making herself out to be a victim. I have bank statements, I said to Tiana. I have canceled checks. I have text messages from your mother asking me for money. I kept everything. Tiana looked at her mother with something like disappointment, and I felt a small, mean satisfaction. At least someone could see the truth. The dinner broke up after that. People made excuses and left quickly, taking their covered dishes and their discomfort with them. Uncle Raymond tried one more time to get me to reconsider, to think about family, but I just shook my head. Within an hour, it was just me, my parents, Vanessa, and Daryl in that dining room, surrounded by dirty dishes and ruined food. Denise, Daddy said, and his voice was so tired. What do you want from us? It was a good question. What did I want? An apology? Acknowledgement? 23 years of my life back? I want you to leave my house, I said simply. That's all. We'll fight this, Daryl said. His smooth businessman mask had cracked, and underneath was something uglier. We'll take you to court. We'll prove your grandmother wasn't in her right mind when she made that deed. You'll lose, I interrupted. The deed is legal. Grandma was evaluated by her doctor 2 weeks before she signed it. She was sound of mind, and even if you could prove otherwise, you'd have to explain the fraud. The forged signatures, the illegal loans, the development contract for property you don't own. I could make things very difficult for you, Daryl said, and there was a threat in his voice now. You could try. I met his eyes. But I work in healthcare, Daryl. I know how to document everything. Every conversation, every transaction, every lie. And I've been documenting for 6 months. Do you really want to go to war with me? Something in my voice must have convinced him I was serious because he grabbed Vanessa's arm. Come on, we're leaving. Mama? Vanessa turned to our mother, tears running down her face now. Mama, say something. Tell her she's being ridiculous. But Mama just sat there, staring at her hands. Mama! Vanessa's voice rose to a shriek. Are you really going to let her do this to us? Mama looked up at her, then at me, then back at her hands. What do you want me to say, Vanessa? She's right. We've been using her. I've been telling myself it was okay because she was family, because she didn't have children of her own to support, because it was easier than admitting what we were doing was wrong. I hadn't expected that. Hadn't expected Mama to admit anything. This is unbelievable, Vanessa spat. You're all insane. Come on, Daryl. We're going to get a lawyer, a real lawyer, and we're going to take everything from her. They left in a fury, Vanessa slamming the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. It was just me and my parents then. The house felt bigger, emptier, colder than it ever had. I'm sorry, Mama said finally. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am sorry, Denise. I didn't raise you right. I favored your sister, and I let her treat you poorly, and I used you. I'm sorry. I wanted to feel something. Relief, satisfaction, vindication. Instead, I just felt hollow. You have 30 days, I said. I'll help you find a place. But you need to be out by Christmas. Daddy nodded slowly. That's fair. They went to bed after that, and I started cleaning up the disaster of the Thanksgiving dinner. I was elbow deep in soapy water, washing dishes, when I heard the crash. It came from the study. My heart jumped into my throat as I grabbed a knife from the dish rack and ran down the hall. The study door was open. Papers were scattered everywhere. The filing cabinet had been pried open, its lock broken, and standing in the middle of the chaos, holding a stack of documents, was Daryl. "Looking for something?" I asked, keeping the knife visible. He spun around. His eyes were wild, desperate. "You don't understand what you're doing. If you expose that development deal, I'll lose everything. The company, the house, everything. I have investors involved, serious people. The kind of people who don't take kindly to deals falling through." "Then you shouldn't have tried to sell property that wasn't yours." "That land is worth $6 million, he shouted. $6 million! And you're going to just sit on it? Live in this old house like some kind of what? I took a step closer. "Say it." He didn't. Instead, he looked down at the papers in his hands. The development contracts, the property assessments, the financial projections. "I need these," he said. "I need to make this right with my investors. If I don't—" He trailed off, but the fear in his eyes finished the sentence. "Get out," I said. "Now, before I call the police." "Denise, please. Get out!" He dropped the papers and ran. I heard the front door slam, heard his car peel out of the driveway. I stood there in the destroyed study, papers scattered around my feet, and noticed something I hadn't seen before. A folder, hidden in the back of the broken filing cabinet. I picked it up with shaking hands. Inside were more documents. But these weren't about the house or the loans. These were medical records, DNA test results, legal documents, and as I read them, as I understood what I was seeing, my blood turned to ice. Vanessa wasn't my sister. She was my half-sister. Daddy had had an affair 20 years before we were born, and Vanessa's mother wasn't Mama at all. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was the letter attached to the DNA results, dated 3 months ago in Grandma Celeste's handwriting. A letter I'd never seen before. A letter that changed everything. "Denise," it read, "if you're reading this, then they've pushed you too far, and you finally looked for the truth. I'm sorry I didn't tell you while I was alive. I was a coward. But you need to know, Vanessa is not your blood. She's the child of your father's mistress, a woman named Gloria who died when Vanessa was 2. Your mother raised her out of forgiveness and duty, but the girl has her mother's greedy heart. That's why I left everything to you. Blood isn't always thicker than water, but character is. There's more you need to know. Check the safety deposit box at First National. Box 447. The key is taped under my jewelry box in the attic. What's inside will protect you from what's coming. I love you, baby girl. Stand strong. Grandma Celeste." I heard footsteps behind me and spun around. It was Vanessa, and she had a gun. "Put that down," I said, trying to keep my voice steady even though my heart was hammering against my ribs. "Vanessa, what are you doing?" She stood in the doorway, the gun trembling in her hand. Her face was streaked with mascara, her eyes red and wild. "I came back because I forgot my phone and I heard you in here. I saw what you were reading." "So you brought a gun?" "It's Daryl's," she said. "I keep it in my purse for protection. But I wasn't going to—" She lowered it slightly, and I saw her hand shaking. "How long have you known?" "About you not being Mama's daughter? I just found out. Literally 2 minutes ago." She laughed, a harsh, broken sound. "I've known since I was 16. I found the papers in Daddy's office. DNA tests, birth certificates, everything. My real mama was some woman named Gloria who Daddy had an affair with. She died of an overdose when I was a baby, and Daddy brought me home to his wife like I was a stray puppy." I stared at her. "You've known for 25 years? Do you know what it's like?" Her voice cracked. "Growing up in a house where your mother looks at you and sees her husband's betrayal? Where you have to be perfect, have to be special, have to prove you're worth keeping? That's why they gave me everything, Denise. Not because they loved me more, because they felt guilty. For the first time in my life, I saw Vanessa as something other than my tormentor. I saw a scared girl trying to earn love she thought she had to buy. That doesn't excuse what you did to me, I said quietly. I know. She set the gun down on Daddy's desk, like it had suddenly gotten too heavy. I know, and I'm sorry. I was so jealous of you. You were the real daughter, the one who belonged. I thought if I could be better than you, prettier, more successful, have a better husband and better kids, then maybe I'd finally feel like I deserved to be part of this family. Vanessa. But it was never enough, was it? Because you're the one Grandma Celeste actually loved. You're the one she trusted with her legacy. And I'm just the reminder of Daddy's mistakes. We stood there in that destroyed study, 23 years of pain and resentment hanging between us. Part of me wanted to feel sorry for her. Part of me did. But a bigger part remembered every cruel word, every humiliation, every time she'd made me feel small. I'm still taking the house, I said. I'm sorry for what you went through, but that doesn't change what you did. She nodded, wiping her eyes. I know. I just wanted you to understand why. She turned to leave, then stopped. Denise? The safety deposit box? Don't go alone, and don't tell Mama or Daddy you're going. Why not? Because Grandma Celeste told me about it too. 3 days before she died. She said if anything happened to you, I should make sure you got what was in that box. She said it was insurance against people who might try to hurt you for that land. She met my eyes. She didn't trust our parents, Denise, and neither should you. Then she was gone, leaving me with the gun, the scattered papers, and a warning that made my skin crawl. I spent that night in the study, reading through every document in the filing cabinet. I found more evidence of Daddy's schemes, loan applications, property appraisals, letters from Winchester Development. But I also found something else. A series of emails between Daddy and someone named Andre Winters, talking about handling the Denise problem and clearing the title. The last email was dated 2 weeks ago. She's been asking too many questions. We might need to accelerate our timeline. Once the property's subdivided and sold, it won't matter what she knows. I felt sick. My own father had been planning to sell my land out from under me, and from the sound of these emails, he'd been willing to do whatever it took to make that happen. The next morning, I called in sick to work, first time in 5 years, and drove to First National Bank. I found the key exactly where Grandma's letter said it would be, taped under her old jewelry box in the attic. The bank manager, a thin black woman in her 50s named Mrs. Patterson. Wait, that's a band name. Let me restart. The bank manager, a thin black woman in her 50s named Mrs. Washington, looked at me with recognition. You're Celeste Thompson's granddaughter. I remember you from her funeral. Yes, ma'am. I need to access box 447. She led me to the vault, used her key along with mine, and pulled out a long metal box. Take your time, honey. Room 3 is private. Inside the box was a thick folder, a stack of cash. I counted $15,000 and a videotape. An actual VHS tape, the kind we used to watch movies on when I was a kid. The folder contained property surveys, legal opinions, and a detailed history of the land going back to 1947. I learned things I'd never known. The property wasn't just valuable for subdivision. There was a railroad company interested in building a line through it. An energy company had done surveys and found potential natural gas deposits. A tech company wanted to build a data center on it. The land wasn't worth $6 million. It was worth closer to $20 million depending on the buyer. No wonder Daddy and Daryl had been so desperate. But the real bombshell was at the bottom of the folder. A legal document dated 6 months before Grandma died. It was a contract between Celeste Thompson and Andre Winters. Andre Winters was Winchester Development's CEO. And according to this contract, he'd approached Grandma about buying the land. She'd refused. He'd increased his offer. She'd refused again. And then, This part made my hands shake. He'd threatened her. Said she was an old woman who couldn't protect her property. Said things could happen to old women living alone. Said maybe a fire, or a fall down the stairs, or any number of accidents. Grandma had recorded the whole conversation. She'd hired a lawyer, and she'd made sure that if anything happened to her, if the property was ever sold under suspicious circumstances, this evidence would come to light. She'd been protecting me from beyond the grave. I sat in that small room, holding proof that someone had threatened my grandmother's life over this land, and realized how deep this went. Daddy hadn't just been greedy, he'd been working with someone dangerous. I took the VHS tape to a shop that converted old media to digital. The video showed Grandma in her living room talking to the camera. "Denise, baby girl, if you're watching this, then something's gone wrong. I've made arrangements with a lawyer. His name is Thomas Burke at Burke & Associates, to make sure you get everything in this box if anything happens to me. I want you to know why I did what I did. That land has been in our family for 78 years. My mama and daddy bought it with money they saved from sharecropping, from cleaning white folks' houses, from doing every hard job there was. It's worth a fortune now, but it's worth more than money. It's proof that we survived, that we built something that couldn't be taken from us. Your daddy, though, baby, I love my son, but he's weak. He's always been weak. That woman Gloria got her hooks in him, and even after she died, he couldn't be strong. He's been letting that Daryl person fill his head with schemes, and they've been talking to some dangerous people. Andre Winters came to see me 2 months ago, offered me $5 million for this land. When I said no, he got nasty, started making threats. I recorded him. That tape's in this box, too. I went to the police, but they said without more evidence there wasn't much they could do. Said I should take the money and be grateful. But I ain't taking nothing from people who threaten me, and I ain't letting them take what's yours. So I'm leaving you everything, Denise. Not your daddy, not your mama, not Vanessa, you. Because you're the only one strong enough to hold on to it. You're the only one who understands what it means. If Winters or anybody else comes after you, you take this evidence to Thomas Burke. He'll know what to do. And baby girl, don't trust your daddy on this. I hate to say it, but he sold you out long before I died. He's been in Winters' pocket for years. I love you. Be strong. And don't let them take what's ours." The video ended. I sat there, tears running down my face, and finally understood. Grandma hadn't just left me a house. She'd left me a battlefield. I went straight to Thomas Burke's office. He was a distinguished older black man with gray at his temples and sharp, intelligent eyes. When I told him who I was, his whole demeanor changed. "Ms. Thompson, I've been waiting for you to come. Your grandmother set up very specific instructions. Please, sit down." He pulled out a file that was 3 inches thick. "Your grandmother retained me 23 years ago to protect this property, and, more importantly, to protect you. She knew your father was susceptible to outside influence. She knew about his relationship with Andre Winters. And she suspected, correctly, as it turns out, that Winters wouldn't give up easily." "What do you mean, give up?" Burke's expression darkened. "After your grandmother passed, Winters approached your father with a proposition. He would help your father take control of the property through legal challenges to the deed. In exchange, your father would sell to Winters at below market value. Your father agreed. But the deed is solid. You said so." "It is. But that didn't stop them from trying. Over the years, they've filed multiple challenges, all under sealed court records so you wouldn't know. Every single one was dismissed. Your grandmother made sure that deed was bulletproof." "So what now?" Burke leaned forward. "Now, Ms. Thompson, we go on the offensive. Your grandmother left you more than just evidence. She left you a plan. We're going to use Winchester Development's threats, your father's fraud, and Daryl's illegal development schemes to file criminal charges and civil suits. By the time we're done, Winters will be under investigation, your father will be facing fraud charges, and Daryl will lose his real estate license at minimum." "And my parents? That's up to you. Your grandmother's instructions give you full discretion. You can include them in the criminal complaints, or you can simply evict them and cut ties. She said you'd know what the right choice was when the time came. I thought about Mama's apology, about Daddy's shame, about Vanessa's tears, about 23 years of being used. File everything, I said. All of it. They made their choices. Now they live with the consequences. Burke nodded. I'll start the paperwork today. But Miss Thompson, you should know, Andre Winters is not a man who loses gracefully. Once he realizes you're coming after him, he may retaliate. I'd suggest you stay somewhere else for a while, somewhere safe. I'm not running from my own house. Then at least install security cameras. Change the locks. Be careful. I did all of that. But Burke was right to worry. 3 days later, someone broke into the house at 2 a.m. I woke up to the sound of glass breaking downstairs. I grabbed my phone, called 911, and hid in my closet like Burke had instructed. I heard footsteps, multiple people, voices arguing in harsh whispers. Then I heard another voice, one I recognized. She's not here. The car's gone. She must have left. It was Daddy. Then we do it now, another voice said. Male, unfamiliar. Burn it. Make it look like an electrical fire. Insurance will pay out, and once the property's damaged, she'll be more willing to sell. I don't know, man. This is my daughter's house. Your daughter who's about to send you to prison? The unfamiliar voice turned cold. Your daughter who's destroying your life? Come on, Thomas. Where's your spine? We do this. Winters pays you your cut, and you disappear to Florida like we planned. Nobody gets hurt. There was a long pause. Then Daddy said, Okay, let's do it. I heard movement, smelled gasoline, heard liquid splashing. And that's when the lights came on and Burke's voice came over a loudspeaker. This is Thomas Burke, attorney at law. This property is under surveillance. The police are on their way. I suggest you leave immediately. I heard running, cursing, the front door slamming. I came out of my closet and looked out the window. 3 men were running to a black SUV. One of them was Daddy. The police arrived 4 minutes later. Burke had installed cameras everywhere, and they'd caught everything. The break-in, the gasoline, the conversation about arson, all of it. Daddy was arrested that night. So was the man with him, one of Winters' employees. The third man got away, but police found him 2 days later. Mama called me from jail, crying. Please, Denise, please don't let them do this to your father. He's sick. He's not thinking straight. That Winters man poisoned his mind. He chose this, I said. He chose it every day for years, and tonight he chose to burn down my house with me in it. He thought you weren't there. That doesn't make it better, Mama. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, what do you want me to say? That I'm sorry? That we failed you? We did. We failed you every day of your life, but he's still your father. Doesn't that mean anything? It used to, I said. It doesn't anymore. I hung up. The legal proceedings moved fast after that. With video evidence of attempted arson and testimony about the conspiracy to defraud me of my property, prosecutors had everything they needed. Daddy took a plea deal, 5 years in prison, restitution of $97,000, and permanent surrender of any claim to the property. Darryl lost his real estate license and faced his own fraud charges. Winters fought it harder, but eventually he was indicted too. Vanessa came to see me 2 weeks before Daddy's sentencing. We sat on the porch of my house, not theirs, and drank sweet tea in the December cold. I'm divorcing Darryl, she said. Took me 20 years to realize he was just like Daddy, weak, greedy, willing to sacrifice anything for money. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. Don't be. I should have left him years ago. She looked at the house, at the land stretching beyond it. Are you going to sell it? No. I'm going to live here, fix it up the way Grandma would have wanted. Maybe turn part of it into a community center or something. Haven't decided yet. That's good. She'd like that. Vanessa stood to leave, then turned back. Denise? I know I don't have the right to ask, but do you think you could ever forgive me? Not now, maybe, but someday? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe. But it would take time. And it would take you actually changing. That's fair, she smiled. Sad but genuine. I hope I can earn it. She left, and I sat alone on that porch, watching the sun set over land that had been fought for, bled for, and finally reclaimed. I thought I'd feel triumphant, vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired and sad. I'd won. I had my house, my land, my inheritance. Justice had been served. My parents would face consequences for their actions. Daryl's schemes had collapsed. Winters was going to prison. But I'd also lost my family. Daddy was going to prison. Mama had moved in with her sister in Atlanta, and we barely spoke. Vanessa and I were cordial, but the relationship we'd never really had was gone for good. Tiana and Jordan, my niece and nephew, looked at me like I was a stranger now, like I was the villain who'd destroyed their family. Maybe I was. 3 months later, I was in the attic, finally sorting through the last of Grandma's things, when I found one more letter. This one was recent, dated just a month before she died. Dearest Denise, it read. I know what you're thinking right now. You won, but it doesn't feel like winning. You're wondering if it was worth it. If you should have just stayed quiet, kept the peace, been the good daughter. Let me tell you something I learned too late in life. Peace at the cost of yourself is no peace at all. You didn't destroy your family, baby. They destroyed themselves with their own greed and weakness. You just refused to be destroyed along with them. That takes courage, more courage than forgiving ever will. Because forgiveness is easy when someone apologizes and changes. But standing up for yourself when everyone tells you you're wrong, when your whole family turns against you, that's the hardest thing in the world. You're going to be lonely sometimes. You're going to wonder if you made the right choice. But I want you to know, I'm proud of you. Not for winning, not for getting the house, but for being strong enough to save yourself when nobody else would. That land isn't just dirt and grass, baby. It's proof that we survived, that we built something, that we matter. Don't ever forget that. And maybe, someday, you'll build a new family there. Not blood family, but chosen family. People who love you for who you are, not what you can give them. That's my hope for you. I love you forever. Your Grandma Celeste. I sat there in that dusty attic, holding that letter, and finally let myself cry. Not for what I'd lost, but for what I'd gained. Not just a house, but my dignity, my self-respect, my life. The property ended up being worth even more than the estimate suggested. A tech company eventually approached me with a lease offer for part of the land. $20,000 a month for 20 years. I could have retired right then, never worked another day in my life. But I didn't take it. Instead, I negotiated. I'd let them build their data center on 5 acres in exchange for them funding a community center on another 5 acres. A place for kids in the neighborhood to go after school. A place that honored what that land meant. Not just wealth, but community, legacy, survival. I named it the Celeste Thompson Community Center. And here's the twist nobody saw coming, not even me. When I went through the paperwork for the tech company's background check on the property, I found something Burke had never mentioned, something Grandma had never said. The property wasn't just valuable for development. There was a legal clause in the original deed from 1947 that gave mineral and water rights to the descendants of Celeste Thompson in perpetuity. Not just the surface land, but everything underneath it, including the natural gas deposits the energy company had surveyed, including the aquifer that ran beneath the property, one of the largest underground water sources in the state. Burke claimed he didn't know. Maybe he didn't. But I suspect Grandma knew exactly what she'd left me. Not just a house, but a legacy that could sustain generations. Water and gas rights that, according to Burke's new assessment, could be worth upwards of $50 million over the next 30 years. Daddy had tried to sell it all for $6 million. He'd been willing to burn it down for a fraction of what it was worth, and he'd never even known what he was throwing away. The kicker? The day after I discovered the water rights, I got a call from Winter's lawyer. Winters wanted to make a deal. He'd plead guilty to reduced charges if I'd sell him the property. He was offering $30 million. I told him to go to hell. But Mama called me after she heard about the offer. $30 million, Denise. That's enough to secure your whole future. You could help Vanessa, help me, even put some money away for your father when he gets out. Mama, I interrupted. Did you really just ask me to give money to the people who tried to steal from me and burn down my house? We're still family. No, I said. We're not. Not anymore. Family doesn't do what you did to me. And you're never seeing a penny of this money. None of you are. She hung up on me. We haven't spoken since. I still live in Grandma's house. My house. I wake up every morning in the bedroom I grew up visiting every summer, look out at land that's been in my family for almost 80 years, and know that I did the right thing. It doesn't always feel good. Sometimes I drive past Mama's sister's house and think about stopping. Sometimes I see Vanessa's posts on social media and wonder if I should reach out. Sometimes I lie awake at night and wonder if standing up for myself was worth losing everyone. Then I remember Grandma's words. Peace at the cost of yourself is no peace at all. And I know I made the right choice. Thanks for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, please leave a like and subscribe. Have you experienced something similar? Share your story in the comments below.